It's a great song. You'll love this. Here we go.
Here come the judge, 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 here come the judge.
This is really loud.
Up against the wall, motherfucker! Up against the wall, motherfucker!
I love it.
Up against the wall, motherfucker! Up against the wall, up against the wall, up against the wall, motherfucker! La 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 la.
I love it.
Yeah. La 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 la. Up against the wall, motherfucker. Up against the wall, motherfucker.
Yeah, this is right in my wheelhouse. I love it.
Up against the wall. Up against the wall. Up against the wall. You motherfucker. So help me, Bob, I'm bully in the alley. Way, hey, bully in the alley. Help me, Bob, I'm bully in the alley. Bully done a shin bone now. We skulk in the day and we skulk through the night, and we stand in the shadows of your bedroom light. The creeps are coming and you better stop running, 'cause we're gonna cut, yeah. With tattoos and scars, we've been feathered and tied. They held the long truck to put us away for life, but we got a great smile and skills with the knife. The creeps are coming and you better stop running, 'cause we're gonna cut, yeah. Yeah. Cut.
How do you want to do this? Just me here?
Yeah, we'll just sit here and we'll chat. So I'll talk to the camera like we're on TV, I guess. I don't know.
All right. Sounds good.
But so this is the Taylor Street Sessions. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately. It's taking place on Fillmore today.
Fillmore.
Barry's house.
Yeah, Fillmore Street Sessions.
Fillmore Street has some, it's got some art going too. So I'm here with my friend Barry Scanlan. We're just gonna talk about his, mostly his whiskey painting, but just creativity in general. Just kind of talking about what we do, you know.
Sure.
But I guess I wanted to start with. We got a bunch of footage of you doing some art with whiskey and some paintings you've been doing, but just kind of bring us through the story of that. Like, how did that all come about?
Well, okay, I have a very complicated family situation, not unlike most families though. But my dad was a steel worker, came out right out of World War II, working in the mills in Pittsburgh, where I was born, and he got into the habit of just drinking a lot of whiskey.
Sure.
He was a beer and shot man with all of his friends, and that impacted the family. The family kind of had a breakdown. In 1961, my dad decided to leave the family and pretty much deserted us. And we staggered along after that. It was a pretty hard go. This was before food stamps and stuff.
Sure.
And so me and my two older brothers and my sister, my mother was pregnant when my dad left.
Yep.
So I had a sister coming along too.
Right.
and so it was a pretty hard time for my mom.
Sure.
So that's part of the story. The second half of the story is all photos that existed up to that time of my dad. My mother ended up remarrying, and my stepfather and mother cut out every photo of my dad out of every picture. So
Right.
I didn't know what my dad looked like.
Because how old were you when he left?
Six.
Okay. Yeah.
And the other thing was, in my family, nobody talks about problems.
Sure.
Problems were not talked about. So my dad was never mentioned or talked about again, ever in my life, until I found him in 1974. That's another story. That's the third part of this story. So he leaves. Nobody talks about him. There's never any discussion. He never calls. He never sends a birthday card. So it's like this man never existed. He was suddenly gone. So, 1974, I'm in the Marine Corps. Go to Pittsburgh with some friends to party. I was stationed in North Carolina at the time. And I decided to walk into a phone booth and look up my dad's name, and I found it, and I slipped a dime in the...
Yeah, right, yeah. No, that's funny. That's just how that was. You go in the phone book and you just find somebody and you're like, this might be them, maybe it is.
There were a few Scanlans, Michael John Scanlan, and I decided to call, and I said, Dad, I said, well, here's what I said. I said, hi, is this Michael John Scanlan? He said, yeah. I said, did you have a son called Barry? He said, yeah. I said, well, hi, Dad, I'm in Pittsburgh right now. I'm in the Marine Corps, and I'm in Pittsburgh with some friends. He was very excited.
Sure.
He wanted to see me.
Yeah.
He wanted to know where I was at, what part of Pittsburgh, get on down to where he was living in Southside. Southside is the oldest part of Pittsburgh. It's where all the mills are at.
Sure.
It's all brownstones, really just literally street that's made out of bricks, sidewalk, and buildings. And there's no grass.
Right.
It's a very old and polluted part of Pittsburgh.
Sure.
So I went down there and, eventually hooked up with my dad. Yeah.
Right.
Stayed for an hour or two, and then me and my friend Nick hitchhiked back to North Carolina. So after I found my dad, I called up my siblings. I have a brother who's 14 years older than me, another brother who's 7 years older than me, and then my sister, who never met my father, who's 7 years younger than I am. And my two older brothers were very excited and had a lot of questions. They wanted to know what was going on with Dad, and
Sure.
and so because we had now this new relationship with our dad. My sister though was very upset about it, angry.
Right.
There's another part of this story too that is connected to this, is that my sister never knew that this was her father. My stepfather came into the situation, and my mother never told my sister Debbie that Raymond, my stepfather, was not her father.
Okay.
So my sister's like 11 years old, and she thinks that Raymond is her father.
Right.
My stepfather.
Yep.
Who was not a very nice man to me, by the way.
Right.
So one day she's walking home and she sees the mailbox and she sees the name Scanlan and Dotson on it.
Yeah.
And she wonders why her last name is Scanlan, but Raymond's last name is Dotson.
Right.
So she asks Mom, who's doing the dishes at the time, and my mom just says, and starts crying. And my sister consoles her.
Right.
And my mother never talks to my sister about this question ever again. One time thing, and my mom dies in 2001, never brings it up again. Because that's the way my family was. We didn't talk about things that were hard to talk about.
Well, yeah, and I think like people around here, I mean, Minnesotans, like people that it's just like ingrained too. So.
It's just we just didn't do well with tough questions. So years go by. I have a relationship with my dad for a few years. I tried to live with him. He was too hard to live with because of he was just a beer and shop man. His whole life was wrapped up in the bars in Southside. he'd get up at 9 in the morning, go get a newspaper and some cigars, and stop in at Young's or at the Polish Falcons or the Croat Serb Club or the McCann's Irish Bar, whatever, and go in, and he'd walk in, there'd always be somebody who knew my dad who would immediately have a shot of beer before he even got to the bar. And then my dad would reciprocate and buy him shots of beer from the bar, and this went back and forth from 9 in the morning till 9 at night. And my dad hardly had any food in the house, so I was with him, and I was, when you're in a bar, the things you can eat are either pretzels, potato chips, or pickled eggs. I ate so many pickled fucking eggs. I was fucking farting like a machine by the end of the evening.
You probably should have been the one who had your gallbladder out, not me, right?
It was a rough existence. And I was in Pittsburgh because I was going to go to University of Pittsburgh, but it got to be too tough to live with my dad, and I couldn't stay with him. So, moved out. But years later, a lot of time goes by, and we're in the 2000s now, and my stepfather finally dies. My dad had died a few years ago too, but my stepfather dies, and he has all the photos. My mother died previously also.
Yeah.
The photos end up with my sister, and she doesn't know most of the people in these photos because they go all the way back to the 1920s. From these photos, we tried to ascertain, well, where's Dad at? And we saw that many of the photos were clipped, had been cut or torn. And my dad had been torn out of every photo that existed. That's why I didn't know what my dad looked like. We had no ideas what my father looked like. No photos from World War II, no photos at all. So, and not to say that my dad wasn't he was a good man and a bad man. He was a complicated man, and he deserted the family. That was bad, of course. And but it's your dad, and you take what you get. This is what I was dealt, and so that's my dad.
Right.
Anyway, my sister had these photos. She sent a lot of them to me, and I've been trying to figure out my family situation, my mom's issue with that. Talk about it, any problems. My dad leaving. What could all this mean?
Sure.
And none of it was ever talked about. So I've got a lot of unanswered questions. Hence, that's why I'm painting the whiskey paintings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have all these pictures.
Yeah.
You're wanting to figure, just like you have all these unanswered questions. So you start working on the art. Like, how did that all start?
At the same time that these photos came to me, a good friend who lives in Palm Springs, California, who's an artist, told me I had to see this movie, Never Look Away. It's a German movie, a German director, and it's about the artist Gerhard Richter, who's a German artist, came out of World War II and made it big in the 1960s. Well, I did see that movie, and that movie really impacted me a lot because it's a movie about the whole idea of what is creativity.
Sure.
And also, he takes these old photos of his family from the World War II and pre-World War II, and he started painting them in a way that was had never been done before in the early 60s. At first, people looked at him and thought, well, these are just photographs that you've painted. But then but if you look at them more, there's a deeper truth to them.
Sure.
And I really saw that truth, and I thought, I'm going to do that with my photos, but I'm going to add a second layer, and that was the whiskey.
Sure, yeah.
Incorporating Kessler's whiskey, which is the whiskey my dad drank. A bar whiskey, very cheap whiskey, served in Pittsburgh at all the bars. And so I just decided I'm going to do these photographs that I have, whether it's of my mother, or my mother and my sister who died before I was born. I had a sister who died before I was born, or family friends. So
I thought it was interesting too how you were saying that you've looked to see if anybody else is painting with whiskey or doing that, and that just hasn't been something that you've found a lot of how did you even start that how did that?
Well, first I went online because you can Google everything.
Sure, right.
That's the thing, Right. I decided to Google how to paint with whiskey. Well, the only thing that came up was this thing called the WPA, which means Whiskey Painters of America.
Okay.
But that's based on a little paintings that are 5x5, where they use whiskey only as a watercolor, but they do landscapes.
Okay.
And it's a certain style that came out of like hobo art, I believe, hobo art.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
Yeah.
But it's not what I was doing. I was trying to figure out how do you paint just large paintings with whiskey as your main medium. And there I can't find anything. And I have looked and looked. And nobody, as far as I know, is doing it, but I'm sure there's somebody must be. Because I can't believe that, I mean, painting with whiskey, why not?
Yeah, no, when you hear it, like, oh yeah, that just seems like something, but at the same time, it's like, there's no, like no planned medium for that, right? You know what I mean? So it's like its own thing, but it's also like something you might like. You say you do it, and then everybody's like, yeah, oh, that makes sense. You know what I mean? But it's not like everybody's trying that,
Right.
But that's what I think is cool about art too. Is sometimes when you don't know, you break the rules. You create something that people never thought about.
Right. And maybe that's what I'm doing, and I hope I did. I mean, I'd be very thankful if that's the case. If not, I mean, I'm just glad that I've stumbled onto it and that I'm doing it.
Right.
It's working for me right now, and I really like the direction it's taken me.
Yeah, no, I think I love going down there, and like I love just this theme, and then like for me, like I've done lots of different things creatively through my life where it's like I just do it until, like you were talking about your books over your true stories, right?
Yeah.
You did it for a while and it was like, I'm really into it, and then something was just like, nah, right now maybe I'm done, maybe I'm not, I don't know, right? You know what I mean? But now you're talking about coming back to it, and it's like, it's cool when that kind of burst hits you,
Exactly, and that's how the true stories were. It was a burst.
Yeah.
And then I got to like the 8th issue, and I was like, I want to go bigger now. And that's when I started moving into painting in general.
Right, okay.
I just wanted to do something different. Everything in my life is like a 5-year plan. Let's do it for 5 years and see how it feels.
Right.
And then, because I can get bored with stuff, and you want to do more things,
I find what I find now is interesting, and this is probably the drinks talking, but is like for me, my life has always been jumping from one thing to another, and I've never gotten, I feel like, really good at anything.
Yeah.
But you always come back to it and like, well, I have some aptitude for this or whatever. But like, I just think I find it's interesting how people can be so sustained, and do one thing so really well. But then there's a lot of people out there who are really good at lots of different things. And for me, that's always been fun to just be like, I like exploring lots of different things.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yes,
And I respect the people, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, the greats of different, but also like that kind of, was it Da Vinci who was kind of like a man of all trades?
Inventor and everything, right?
And I feel like that's a noble thing that gets overlooked sometimes.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So and when I come to your house, that's what I see. Like, I see art, but you have the abstract art, you have the whiskey thing, but even the way you present the gardens, and you know what I mean? Like, it just, that kind of way of seeing the world just kind of shows up, and that's what I think is fun.
Yeah, thanks, man. I said to Zeb the other day, I saw my son Zeb, and I said, boy, if I knew how to play a musical instrument, man, I would be doing so many crazy ass things. Because it just seems like such a creative outlet,
It's never too late though, right?
I don't know. I don't think I can hold a beat.
Yeah.
Tammy says I can't hold it. You say I can't hold a beat.
Yeah, but she was a jazz singer. You don't need to. You can be a little interpretive, right?
Yeah.
No, he can't hold a beat, but you can see he sung great. He and Zeb.
Yeah.
It sounded so good.
I had a dance a dance style named after me.
The bear bow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
In our mega party days. Right?
I had a certain style I danced, and people thought it was a little wacko. The bear bow.
The bear bow.
People copied it.
Can you do it right now?
Sure.
I'm not going to be associated with it.
Well, I don't know if I can do it right now.
Yeah, okay.
It has to have you have to have a song like Devo on, you know, with it or something.
Well, maybe next time.